Act One of John Nash's drama is a classic coming-of-age story. John Nash was born in Bluefield, West Virginia, in the Blue Ridge Mountains. He was born on the eve of the Great Depression. He was a peculiar, solitary, and intellectually precocious little boy. Other children nicknamed him Bug Brains. "I had ideas," he said later. "I had ideas, but they were sort of buggy or not perfectly sound." At 10, John Nash was doing rather sophisticated chemical experiments and tricking other children by shocking them with electrical currents. At 15, he was building pipe bombs and simultaneously reproving classical theorems by the likes of Fermat and Gauss. In the summer of 1945, the year the war ended, he went off to Carnegie Tech in Pittsburgh with the idea that he was going to become an engineer like his father. But within a few months, his professors there had discovered him as a, quote, young Gauss. When it was time for him to go to graduate school, which was only 3 years later when he not only had finished his undergraduate degree but also a master's, they sent him off to Princeton with a one-line letter of recommendation. "This man is a genius." Princeton in the late 40s was the center of the mathematical universe. All the demigods of 20th century science seemed to be in residence there. Albert Einstein, Kurt Gödel, Robert Oppenheimer, John von Neumann. One of Nash's fellow students, in fact, one sitting in this very room, described it as the notion was that the human mind could accomplish anything with mathematical ideas. Now, the 10 or so first-year PhD students in mathematics were a pretty odd and cocky bunch. But John Nash was even cockier and stranger than the others. At 20 years old, he was conspicuous for his movie star looks and his Olympian manner. He was 6'1", heavily muscled, tapered waist. He held his hands rather limply. He wore his fingernails unusually long. His conversation had this stilted and ornamental quality. The other students found him haughty, weird, spooky. He loved sparring in the math common room. He avoided classes as a matter of principle. He was almost never seen opening a book. When he was spotted in the Fine Hall Library, it was often lying on one of the long wooden tables with his arm behind his head, staring up at the ceiling. Rebecca West, who is the English novelist and, of course, the lover of H.G. Wells, Rebecca West once defined genius as, quote, the abnormal justifying itself. Those who know that they are, for whatever reason, condemned by life, and who make themselves at one with life by some magnificent act of creation. For John Nash, there were going to be several such magnificent acts before the curtain fell. He would pace endlessly, almost always whistling, usually Bach, or riding commandeered bicycles in tight concentric circles. He was always working inside his own head. John Milner, who was a freshman the year that Nash arrived at Princeton, recalled, It was as if he wanted to rediscover for himself 300 years of mathematics. He was always on the lookout for a shortcut to glory, always looking for that big problem that was going to catapult him to fame. And just like Russell Crowe in the movie, he would corner visiting lecturers with a clipboard and writing pad in hand. He was always very much aware of unsolved problems, Milner said. Within 14 months after his arrival at Princeton, Nash managed to discover the original idea that would one day win him the Nobel Prize.